with Aiden Hutchinson needing so much help on the defensive line, is it finally time to trade for a pass rusher? And yes, it is. And I'm going to give you some trade candidates that other Lions fans, and in my opinion, that we need to trade for. So this video might be a little bit longer, but I want to try to get all this done in one video. So the first, I'm going to go off Lions fans' opinions who they think we need to trade for. This is mainly on the defensive line. I have one player that I'm going to go over that is not on the defensive line that people think we're going to get, that I'll review after this player. But I mean, I doubt these guys are going to trade for us. Now, the first guy that I do not see us getting at all is Max Crosby. The Lions fans expect us to trade for Max Crosby because we think that he is worth. They think that he is worth it. In my opinion, I do not think he is worth it. He is a phenomenal defensive end. Phenomenal. And when I mean phenomenal, I mean absolutely incredible. Defensive end. But he is going to cost so much capital, it's not worth it. It's just not. It's not. I'm going to go over the guy's stats and everything for every player as well, and talk about if I should get him. Max Crosby is a former 4th-round pick somehow, and he is 26 years old. In this season so far, he's had 40 tackles and 6.5 sacks. That's 2 more sacks than Hutchinson has this season. In Max Crosby's career, his first season, 47 tackles, 10 sacks. Second season, 39 tackles, 7 sacks. 56 tackles, 8 sacks. Last season, he had 89 tackles, 12.5 sacks. So in his this is his 5th year in the league. So far, he has 271 total tackles, 44 sacks. So again, I don't think it's worth it just because I don't want to give up the capital. He's going to have to cost a 1st-round pick, and I'm not comfortable giving up a 1st-round pick. Yet, if I'm going to give up a 1st-round pick for a guy, I want it to be a guy like Nick Bosa or Myles Garrett or somebody like that. Max Crosby is absolutely phenomenal. I just don't know if I want to trade a 1st-round pick for him because since we have Hutch, and I think Hutch is phenomenal. So I don't think we need to trade for him because it costs too much capital and he costs a lot of money. So I just will not do it. Now this is the player that is not a defensive lineman. This is Patrick Surtain. This is the most crazy one. I think this is more crazy than Max Crosby because this guy is still on his rookie deal. He's a former 1st-round pick, was number 9 overall in the 2021 draft. He's extremely young. He is 23. You could say he is the best corner in the league, and I would not be mad with that. In my opinion, it's either Jalen Ramsey, Jair Alexander, or Pat Surtain. But he's super young. He's still on his rookie deal, so he would be cheap. However, in terms of money-wise, the capital is going to be insane. He will cost a 1st-round pick, probably a 2nd, maybe a conditional 3rd, and then probably like a Charles Harris or something. Like, he is going to cost so much capital. I don't see this. So far this season, he has 27 total tackles and interception. In his 1st year, he had 58 tackles, 4 interceptions. 2nd season, 60 tackles, 2 picks, which was last year, and then this year so far again was what I just said. So far in his 3-year career, he's had 145 total tackles, 7 picks, and 1 pick 6. So I would not do this deal. Yes, he's going to be cheap in terms of money-wise, but the capital is going to be insane, and I think 100% we need a defensive lineman more than we do a DB. Even though I do think we do need a DB, I don't think it needs to be like an insane guy like Pat Surtain. That's my opinion. Now, these are the players that have been brought up that I think we 100% should trade for, or I think they would be good candidates to get traded to us. So the first one is Jonathan Allen from the Washington Commanders. He is unhappy with the Commanders right now. He just talked about a fit in his press conference. He was saying a whole bunch of curse words. He's not happy. He is not happy at all. I don't know if he fits our personality, though, from a team aspect. So I don't know if he will get traded to us for that reason alone. But he would be a good option, I think, if we're looking for like a defensive tackle, because he's a defensive tackle. He's the only defensive tackle that I will be going over in this list. So far this season, he's got 28 total tackles, 3 sacks. By the way, he's 28 years old, and he is, I think, a former first-round pick. So this season, he's got 28 tackles, 3 sacks. That's pretty good for a defensive tackle. I would say really good for a defensive tackle in terms of sacks is 5+. So that's pretty good. And his 3, 4, 5, 6. This is his 7th career season. His first career season, he had 1 sack. Second season, 8 sacks, 61 tackles. Third season, 68 tackles, 6 sacks. 63 tackles, 2 sacks. 62 tackles, 9 sacks. Last season, he had 65 tackles, 7.5. And somehow he had a pick. So, in his 7-year career so far, he's got 357 total tackles, 36.5 sacks, and a pick. That's pretty incredible, man. I wouldn't be mad at this. I like a guy a little bit younger, and he's a weird guy in terms of capital. I don't know how much he would cost. He is such a good defensive tackle. I don't know, man. He's an interesting one to me in terms of capital. Like, I could see us having to give up a first-round pick, but I could also see it not having to give up a first-round pick, so I don't know. But I would definitely be down with this if we only had to trade like a second and like a guy like Charles Harris or something. Definitely be down for that. Next, we got Brian Burns. Now, Brian Burns, I would say, is the best player that I think we should trade for. Or, not, I don't think we should trade for him. But this is the best player that I think the Lions could trade for. He will cost a decent amount of capital. And this is his last year of his deal, I believe. He was drafted in the first round in 2019. So this is 2023, so this is his 5th season, which means he got franchise tagged, I believe. I don't think he got extended. So he's 25 years old, super, super young. So far this season, 20 tackles, 4 sacks, and a forced fumble. That's pretty good. That's a half a sack lower than Hutch. However, he's playing on the worst team in football. So, I mean, how much credit can you really give the guy when he's on the worst team in football? You know, he'd probably have a lot more if he was on our team. So, and this is his 5th career season. He had 25 tackles, 7.5 sacks rookie year, 58, 9 sacks, 9 sacks. Last season was a career high, 63 tackles, 12.5 sacks. So, in his 5-year career so far, he's got 216 tackles, 42 total tackles, or 42 total sacks. Like, that's incredible. That's averaging almost, like, what? Almost, like, 10 sacks a season. I think that's, like, 9 sacks, 8.59 sacks a season. That's really, really good. So, he would cost a first-round pick, most likely. That's why I don't think we should do this trade. But if we did trade a first-round pick, this is a guy I would definitely do it for because I think he's that good. Again, I just wouldn't do it, but if it did happen tomorrow or something, we trade a first-round pick and that's it for him, 100% be fine with it because he's a guy I would give a first-round pick to, and that's very rare that I will do that. So, and now this is my favorite trade candidate, and I think this is a lot of people's favorite trade candidate that knows the Lions this well. And that is Chase Young from the Commanders. He is 24 years old, former 2nd overall pick, same draft class as Jeff Okudah. He was the pick right before Jeff Okudah. Now, at the time, I still don't really watch college at all, but I didn't know really the players at all in the draft. So I was like, yeah, Jeff Okudah looks like a great player, so I'm fine with taking him. So I thought with that at that time because I didn't really know any of the players coming out of the draft. But I know about every player coming out of the draft through rounds 1 through 4. So, or 1 through 3, I should say. But, so far this season, he's been incredible. Now, I understand he's got a lot of help. He's got 14 tackles so far, 5 sacks. That's a half a sack more than Hutch. I understand he's got Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat also a guy I could see us trading for that will probably cost a little bit more value than Chase Young because he's not on the last year of his deal, but I would not be mad with him either. But Chase Young, first career season, 44 tackles, 7.5 sacks, and he's injury prone. That's why his stats might say a little bit underwhelming because he's been hurt the past 2 years. His second season, 26 tackles, 1.5 sacks, got hurt, was out for the year. Can't remember what week, but he was out for the year. And then last season he had 5 tackles, no sacks, out for the year again. So this is already his second best season. In his 4-year career so far, he's got 89 tackles, 14 sacks. But he's been so hurt, and he's so good. I think we could maybe get him. See, he's playing out of his mind right now. He'd cost more than what he would probably cost at the beginning of the season. Because at the beginning of the season, we could probably get him for like a third, and maybe Julian Okwara. Now we'd probably have to get rid of a second and like Charles Harris. So, and I'd still do that. 100% still do it. I think he's worth it even though he's on the last year of his deal. And he would be a guy just because he's injury prone, unless if he has like 20 sacks or 15 sacks this season, he might not cost, the most money. So, we'll see. Now, this is a guy who's been under the radar that I think we should trade for. This is the last guy. It's Josh Sweat. He's 26 years old, plays on the Eagles. This season so far, he's got 19 tackles, 5.5 sacks. Really, really good. His first career season, 1 tackle. Second season, 21 tackles, 4 sacks. Then 38 tackles, 6 sacks. 45 tackles, 7.5. Last year was a career year, 48 tackles, 11 sacks, and a pick. That pick was a pick 6. And then, of course, the stats so far this year have been incredible. So, he'd also probably cost a second-round pick, probably the same amount as Chase Young. Probably would take Chase Young over Josh Sweat, but Josh Sweat would be a very good option instead of Chase Young. So, but that's just the guys who I think would be the most candidate to trade for us. Josh Sweat is my opinion under the radar, but my favorite trade guy there that I would trade for is Chase Young. Again, I think if you think we're going to trade for Pat Surtain or Max Crosby, I think you're crazy because Holmes has not shown us yet that he's willing to, for Max Crosby's sake, take on that big of a cap hit and give up that much value for Pat Surtain and Max Crosby. But if they did come to Detroit, I wouldn't be mad. I just hope we wouldn't have to give up that much capital. But Brian Burns, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Josh Sweat, if they all came to Detroit, I would not be mad. So that's just my opinion. Tell me in the comments if they're somehow not disabled. I don't know how to undisable the comments, guys. YouTube's weird with that. I've tried all I could. But if they are disabled, tell me in the comments who you think there's a guy under the radar we could trade for, or one of those guys that I listed who we should trade for and how much capital. And I will see you guys in the next one. One Pride, go Lions. We better trade for a D lineman in the trade deadline.